Welcome to another episode of What's Up, Irvine. I'm Curtis Drever, your host, and this podcast is about everything that makes Irvine a great city. Its people, culture, influence, and opportunities. My hope is that by following us, you will learn something new and interesting about our city and feel more connected to our community. So with that, today I have a special guest in our studio, Mr. Bobby Schuller.
Hey,
welcome, Bobby.
Thank you.
Senior pastor of Shepherd's Grove.
That's the first time you called me Mister, by the way.
I know.
I'll take it.
I think
like
it is. I don't know. It just kind of jumped
it.
out. I figured, like, hey, this guy he needs respect. No, I shouldn't say that. You don't need respect. Give you respect there. That's better. So, I'm already thrown off here, so that's okay. Before we really jump into the interview, I like to read a little bit of your bio for our followers, so they have a sense for who you are. And thanks again for being here.
Of course.
So Bobby Schuller is the lead pastor of Shepherd's Grove Presbyterian Church right here in Irvine, and he hosts the internationally broadcast TV program Hour of Power with Bobby Schuller. He is the grandson of the late Dr. Robert H. Schuller, who founded Hour of Power and the Crystal Cathedral. Bobby earned a master's degree of divinity from Fuller Theological Seminary. He is also a best-selling author of the critically acclaimed Imagine Happiness, You Are Beloved, and Happiness According to Jesus. The cornerstone of Bobby's ministry is this: you are a beloved child of God, just as you are. Let go of your shame, regrets, and hurt. Live like you're loved by the most powerful and loving God, because you are. Bobby resides in Orange County with his wife, Hannah, and two children, Haven and Cohen. So welcome again to the show. Thanks for being here.
My privilege. Thanks, my friend.
So
Yeah, glad to be here.
Okay. So part of just getting to know you is kind of jumping back to some of your childhood experiences. So I like to kind of go there. And so I know you have lots of stories and looking forward to hearing some of them. But share a childhood memory that was impactful to you.
A childhood memory. Obviously when we're kids, there's a lot I think one of the things that shaped me a lot was my parents' divorce. One of the positive things about the divorce actually was that my mom lived in LA and my dad lived in Orange County. And so what's funny is how little, like when I was a kid, our parents hovered over us in the way that like we hover over our own children.
Oh, really? Okay.
My mom living in LA and my dad in Orange County, I would take a train back and forth every weekend by myself. In fact, when I was, I think, 9 or 10 years old.
9 or 10?
Yeah,
on a
my
train?
mom would hand me like a $20 bill. She'd drop me off in downtown LA at Union Station. This is like, in the late 80s, early 90s when, you couldn't wear a red or blue shirt downtown because of the Bloods and the Crips.
Yeah.
And so it was a pretty dangerous place. And she'd drop me off at the curb. And I was always fine, and you'd go in, there's homeless people there. It's really nice now, but back then it was a pretty rickety, place. And I'd go to the counter and put my $20 on the thing, get a ticket, get on the train, get off in San Juan Capistrano. It's like 6 stops. Sometimes my dad wouldn't be there, so I'd walk to his house. And it sounds like a sad thing. It's not. It was a great thing because I feel like doing that at a young age got me in an adventurous place where I felt very self-capable, and I felt like I felt like a man, even though I was just like a little kid. And it got me into traveling. It got me really open to things like missionary trips.
Oh, really?
And I did a number of short-term missionary trips, when I was a teenager. And I think that was a really positive experience for me to go back and forth like that, because I think by the time I was 18, I'd been to like every continent except for Antarctica. And I also had an opportunity to go with my grandpa a lot. He was a big traveler. And I think that international experience shaped a lot of my life. That helped me have the ministry we have now, which is a global ministry. We have offices in 6 different countries around the world and many different languages. And when I preach, I don't really think just America. I think about China. I think about the Middle East. I think about Europe,
So it started with a 9, 10-year-old putting $20 on the counter.
I think that's probably one of the most formative parts of my childhood, aside from the sports and school and bullies and all the things you face when you're a kid. I think that was a unique thing that I had that most kids don't have that helped me become a more adventurous, bigger risk taker, more confident.
Yeah. Wow. That's, I remember I have stories like that too. You just say, hey, see you later, and then you're gone for the, and you come back really empowered. Gosh, I did all this by myself. So that's.
Yeah, it's terrifying to think of letting your kids do that as a parent now.
Yes.
But I've been trying to push my daughter to do that, actually, to walk around, to ride her bike around town, and with the girl, it's even harder, But I have to remember, most important thing we can do for our children is not prepare the road for them, but prepare them for the road. Right?
Yeah.
We don't want safe kids. We want strong kids.
Yeah.
The world is not safe, especially for fragile people. The world is a big, wild, amazing place, but we need to become stronger people for that world.
Amen. Yes. So share, what was the best experience or greatest experience or greatest lesson that your mom or dad taught you?
My mom or dad? They taught me all sorts of things. I think my mom, probably the value of family and just having a sense of humor. She's a very funny person. Our family's really big on singing. So anytime we get together, they're from the country. They're from Missouri, and an old Irish family. So
Really?
there's lots of singing, all these old hillbilly songs like.
Go for it.
I'm my own grandpa, and these kinds of like really silly songs from the Ozarks. So I think my mom just teaching me the importance of having a sense of humor, to the point that I don't trust people that don't have a sense of humor, especially if they're religious. I've even preached this from the pulpit. If you know a religious person that can't laugh at a joke, get lost.
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't want to be like, I also don't appreciate humor that's, demeaning to people or overly, gross. But I think, we have to be able to, laughing is sort of how we get through a lot of the suffering of life. You have to have
for sure.
some humor. And I think from my dad, I probably learned a lot of great things from my dad. Mm-hmm. But I think probably also the importance of family, but especially the importance of effort and kind of being there and showing up. The importance of, even when you don't feel like it, showing up. If I ever invite my dad to do something, if he's around, he'll drop everything to do it. And I think that's a really powerful thing for a dad to do.
I know you talk about your grandfather a lot. Is there like one?
Oh my gosh!
I know. I was wondering, how could you pick? Well, I just figured I'd ask. Is there one lesson that your grandfather?
My grandpa was my all-time hero.
Yeah.
And the longer the space gets between his death and my life, the more I see how much of an impact he was on my life. He was the real deal. He seems so dramatic and almost, young people might think a little bit fake. He's not. That's really how he was to everybody all the time. Big, bombastic, funny. He was fat, but it also was in a good way. He was like Santa Claus. So the way he would hug and laugh and his voice was deep because he smoked cigarettes his whole life. People didn't know that. And he switched to cigars. So he had this deep, rustic, awesome farmer voice. And so if I had to narrow it down to probably one experience, it was when I was going through a really rough time. I was like planning a church. I had a seminary. I was trying to also do some business, trying to make money, trying to do all this stuff, just about to have a kid. And I had a meltdown, like a complete meltdown. I went to my grandpa's house, and he was just walking me through it and praying with me. But then I had this rough time where I said, I just wish this season was a little easier. And he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And it sounds rough, but I found out later he was quoting Seneca, but I think John F. Kennedy said something like that in a speech. But this is probably the biggest. If I could teach anybody one thing other than trust your life to Jesus Christ, it's don't pray that life was easier. Pray that you're stronger. Pray that you're better. Pray that you get the skills that make you fit for life.
Yes.
If you want more from life, you need to become more.
Yeah.
If you want a bigger life, you need to become a bigger person. You say, I can't do those things. I can't make these things. I can't accomplish these things. That's probably true. So the answer is then become the kind of person that can accomplish those things. Read the books, do the work, do the training, get the mentor, watch the YouTube videos, do what you can. If you have a dream, it probably means you almost can reach those things, but there's hard work between you and that thing. 90% of people, their lives are too comfortable. Yeah, they don't have a lot of money, but they have whatever. They've got the snacks, the couch, the computer, the cell phone to keep them from putting in the extra work. But that little extra 10, 20% every day makes all the difference between you and who you really want to be in life.
And just keep at it too.
Absolutely, yeah. And then it's great. It's hard at first, but just like anything, it's like you feel great getting up in the morning knowing that even though I haven't accomplished my goal, I'm becoming a new kind of person. And that's effectively what discipleship is, right? That's the core of Jesus' message is actually not just repent and be saved, and it is. That's the main part of his message. But it's also discipleship. Commit your life. Can you drink of the cup I'm drinking from?
Yeah.
Can you take the narrow road? Can you take up your cross and follow me?
Yeah.
Everybody says yes. The truth is no. Most people can't. That's why Jesus says only a few will do it. So how much is a few? Is that 5 or 6 or 7? It's not a lot. And so we've got to wake up in the morning and say, I will be one of the few.
Yeah, that's what he told you. That can come across as rough, but now I'm listening to you. I'm like, that actually was really good, solid advice, because that's really good. It's tough, get stronger, be stronger.
That experience was good for me.
Yeah.
And even though at the time I hated it. Everybody hates jogging. Everybody hates going to the gym. Everybody hates changing diapers. Everybody hates confrontation. Everybody hates doing the things you have to do to lead a team when you have to confront someone or hold someone accountable or fire someone or recruit someone that isn't really interested in what you want to do. All those things are super uncomfortable, but they're so good for you. So it makes you a bigger person. Yeah.
So I know you've had probably several of these, but what's one major tipping point in your life that really changed, a pivotal that changed your course, changed your direction?
Well, I would say the most pivotal point in my life is when I went from being dead to being alive by trusting my life to Jesus Christ.
How old were you?
I was 15.
15.
It was an altar call, and I didn't go down on the altar call. I didn't even pray a prayer. I was just sitting in a seat amongst a bunch of people. Nobody knew I did this, and I just made a decision. I was like, I'm following Jesus. I don't need to go down there. I don't need to pray. I'm just choosing today. This is how I'm going to live my life. And everything was actually, but I would almost say a bigger part was a few months after that. The first person I led to faith, the first person I actually talked to about becoming a Christian, I think had almost a bigger impact on my life than becoming a Christian. As weird as that sounds.
Where were you in that? You're 15.
Yeah.
And so
by this time I just turned 16. I was in high school. I was at a new school in Oklahoma. I just moved from LA to Oklahoma. And I was trying to kind of get out of some of the negative things in my life. And I was feeling pretty lonely. I was new school. This cute girl invited me to a party. And I went to the party. And I thought it was just going to be like a normal, party. And it wasn't. There was, the first kid I saw there offered me a bowl,
Okay.
And I don't judge that kind of thing, But I was like, okay. You're 15,
it's a party
16.
Party,
I'm like, oh, this is like a real party.
Yeah.
And then there was other kind of like harder drugs, in the party, people having sex in different rooms and drinking and things. And so, because I was a new Christian, my first thought was I should leave. This is not the right environment for me. But then I actually felt the Holy Spirit sort of press on me like I needed to stay.
Okay.
So weirdly, I went into the party almost like a missionary,
Yeah.
That sounds so arrogant or insufferable to hear that. But, when you're 15, you just feel like God wants me here for some reason. So I just went in. And I was just nice to people, and I was certainly used to parties, so I was just kind of walking around. And I met this girl who was like, she was like, I don't think we have goths anywhere back then. It was like goth, like full goth.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And she did all this like stuff, and she's into witchcraft and all that stuff. And I told her my testimony, and I prayed with her to receive Christ. And actually, she started coming to our church with her friend and her sister. And she ended up becoming a youth pastor at a Baptist church. She totally cleaned up her life. She got rid of the drugs and everything. And but I knew that when I prayed with her, and then she came to church the next week, our youth group, I knew she would be changed forever, and that changed me forever. Because I'm like, whoa, if I just share the story with someone, I can totally transform.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything. If I can get them to believe in Christ, no doubt her whole life is totally changed because I decided to stay at that party. So obviously the Lord did it, but I'm so glad that that I had that. So that got me so excited about sharing my faith. It's for sure the reason I'm a pastor today.
Yeah.
Is because I just love helping people get a fresh vision for their life and a new path.
That's pivotal. Yeah. So thanks for sharing that. That's a great story and background where you are, what led you to today. So you're a senior pastor or lead pastor, and what's it like? What do you love most about that?
Well, what I love most about being a lead pastor, honestly, it's preaching. I hate to admit that.
It's okay.
But I just really do love preaching. I love the challenge of putting together a unique sermon every week. It's very hard to do.
It's not easy. Yeah, I was going to say.
Putting together one sermon is hard, but I've been in ministry now for 20 years, and I'm turning 42 this July. I've been doing this kind of since just out of college. So when I first started for years, it was like every week was a grind. It's probably one of the things I disliked the most about it. I sort of got sucked into it. I started as a worship leader and got sort of sucked into it because there was like this vacuum. But I love it now, and I think just putting those sermons together feels good. It also feels awful when I work really hard and I feel like it doesn't come across well, and so that pain keeps me trying to give all I can. I try to put 20 hours of work or so into every sermon.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, and I've always done that. Even when we had a tiny church plant. I mean, now we've got probably millions of people that watch our sermons every week. But I think, that's also a sign, though, that if you're faithful in the little things, if you give it your all when nobody's watching, then I think God will reward you for that.
Yeah. What's one of the difficult parts of being a senior pastor or lead pastor?
Preaching.
Preaching, same thing.
It's
that
the same
love.
thing.
Oh, wow.
It's the same grind.
Same side of two coins.
I would say, I've been a pastor of a big church and I've been a pastor of a small church. And I would say, for sure, pastoring a small church is way harder, as weird as that sounds. Pastor of a big church, you have to have a higher skill set, I guess, in a way. And you have to be able to manage the stress of, like, payroll is a big deal. All right, we got to pay everybody. For us, airtime is another big deal. Those are all both through, 6-figure checks we write every month that we have to come up with. So, and they got to raise that money. So that's hard. But pastors of small churches, like, they work so hard and people act like, are they really working? So, like, if you have a church of 80 people, everybody wants you to do their uncle's wedding, their grandma's funeral. They want you to go to every hospital. Then, in my case, I was also the worship leader. I was the accountant. I was a little web designer.
Pretty much do everything.
I did everything.
Take the trash out.
Yeah, I did everything. And I wasn't even paid. When we planted our church the first year, we donated all of our donations to the poor. So I had to find another way to also make money to, take care of our family and take care of my new baby daughter that had just been born. So a lot of pastors are in that shoe, where that situation where they're, people act like they're not enough, they don't care enough, when all they care, they pour out so much. And they almost have to look at running a church, the same way that you've got to recruit leaders to take on those responsibilities. The young guys, like when I was young, like 26, 27, you just feel like, oh, I can do it all. And you can technically, but you just get so burned. Yeah. And it's very, very hard.
You can't do that forever.
The average pastor out of seminary leads a church for 5 years and then quits. And there's a reason for that. It's just, there's a sort of, it's just very hard. A lot of judgment. You get a lot of judgment.
So best part and toughest part is preaching, but at the same time,
I think that's right.
Yeah. How could our viewers or listeners help you?
How can they help me? We're trying to get our YouTube going. I think if people subscribe to our YouTube, that would be cool. I really want to crest over 100,000 subscribers. We're like around 70,000, mainly because I want that medal.
You want to get
medal award.
Okay, so there we go. Subscribe to.
That's not the real reason. I'm joking, but I think YouTube is the future for television. Actually, I don't think cable TV has a long-term thing. So we really want to get our. We have a huge audience on cable, but how long is cable going to be around for? I think. I love YouTube and I love watching it, so I would love for people to participate in our church services by subscribing to Our Power.
So we're in Irvine. What do you like about Irvine? City?
Irvine's an amazing city. I'll tell you what I don't like is the price of real estate. But there's a reason.
You and many other people.
There's a reason that it's so expensive to live here. It's just like a super well-designed city. I love, probably one of my favorite things is the infrastructure for bicycles and paths and walking. I love to walk and ride my bike. I can ride my bike. I live in Costa Mesa, and there is a bike path that goes right from my house all the way up Back Bay, up the river, straight to the church. So I can ride my bike here, and I almost never see cars on the road the whole way. I'm in parks, or I'm along the river. That's an Irvine thing. Yeah. Most of the other cities don't have that. Because I think just maybe because a corporation designed the whole city, the Irvine Company. We're named the city's named after a private company.
Master plan.
Which I don't know if I love that, but it's a cool thing. And I also love the multicultural thing about Irvine. I'm a big international guy. I love languages and cultures and international stuff. There's a lot of Persians and East Asians There's a lot of East Indians here in the city among, that have moved here or whatever, and it creates a really great environment. It creates some really good food, and it's really a cool thing.
Yeah, people don't realize Irvine, how diverse Irvine is, or maybe they are starting to realize it. I think I'm not going to even know the exact, but it's 70, 80 languages, maybe more spoken in the school district. So, and things like that. It's like the world is here in our city.
Yeah,
so,
way more than any other city in Orange County.
Yeah, I agree. So a couple of fun questions. I know you like to walk, but what's your hobby? What's a go-to hobby for you? Is it?
Well, I used to brew beer.
Let's talk about that.
I used to brew beer. Yeah, I used to be a home brewer, and I would get pretty competitive. In fact,
really, okay.
Actually, when I first started, when I first was younger, people wanted me to brew Applejack for baptisms, hard apple cider.
Oh, really? Okay.
I would do that, and then people would start to get a little tipsy, and I was not comfortable with that as a pastor, so I stopped brewing a long time ago. But that was something I used to love to do. It's just such a fun. I like to cook too, but I would say most people that know me personally would say my main hobby is playing piano, play classical music on piano.
Yes. When did you start that?
Probably, I was pretty late, a late bloomer, probably 8th grade.
8th grade, okay.
Yeah, but I really poured into it and got pretty good and was competing in classical piano for a long time and then dabbled in jazz for a while.
Okay, we'll have to have you on the show later when we have guests with that musical talents to play samples at least. So maybe. What's your go-to food or dish?
My go-to food, huh? I just love pizza.
Besides donuts.
And pizza.
I love it.
I mean, I love donuts, pizza, hamburgers, cheeseburgers. I love if it's bad for you, I like it.
All the good comfort food.
Where did I go last night? Where did we go? Oh, we had Mexican last night. Pretty good. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I like it all, man.
Those all count. So, and what would you like? What's a takeaway that you would like our followers or listeners to know about you? Maybe a fun fact or...
I think all I've done is talk about myself this whole time. I think the main thing I would want people to know about themselves is pain and fear is the only thing between you and the life you want. And if you're willing to pay the price, you can become the kind of person you want to be. You literally, you hear people say stuff all the time. You can achieve your dreams, and that's actually not true. You can't achieve the dreams the way you are. You have to change, and I think that's the missing component. People don't look. It is true that you can achieve whatever dreams you want, but you have to become the kind of person to achieve those dreams. And so we need to look in before we look out. You look out to see what you want, and then you look in and you go, okay, how can I become the kind of person? And this is true in almost every aspect of life. People say, oh, here's the person I want to marry. Well, then what they need to say is, okay, how do I become an attractive person? And I don't mean just physically attractive. Right. I mean in the aspect that I would attract that kind of wife or husband. How do I become the kind of person that people would love to marry? Or monetarily, people say, I don't make enough money. Well, you don't get paid for your work. You get paid for your value.
Yes. True.
So if you can bring more value to the marketplace, there's some people who get paid $10 an hour. There's some people who get paid $100 an hour. There's some people who get paid $1,000 an hour. And the difference between those people is how much value they bring to the marketplace. Yep. If they didn't bring that value, the market wouldn't give them that money. So the difference between you and the $1,000 an hour job is value. Now, we don't mean spiritual value. Certainly a child of God. Certainly everybody's equal value in God's eyes. But in terms of and I'm using this for a bigger life lesson.
Right.
That there's a pain, a discipline, a rhythm you can work into your life to become $1,000, even a $10,000 an hour person if you build it into yourself. Yeah. Now, if you care about money, maybe you don't care that much about money, and you probably shouldn't. There's things that you want to achieve. Maybe it's an art or whatever, and there's this constant resistance or push against you. Just don't give into that.
Yeah.
Just build into you the idea that if you're really afraid of something and you can't get it out of your mind, that's the gift of that fear is it's pointing you where you need to go.
Probably exactly.
That's where you need to go. Yeah. That's why if you're afraid of something, you think about it all the time, and you to the point where you're like, I'm just gonna go watch a movie. I'm just gonna play video games. That is exactly where you need to go, and you're literally destroying your soul every minute you don't take a practical step in the direction.
You in your life.
Whether it's a blank canvas or a blank Word doc or a person or an organization or quitting or starting, every minute you don't do that thing, you're withering your soul. It's like picture a beautiful piece of fruit, and instead of growing and it's withering every minute you don't do it. How's that?
That's deep. That's good.
Yeah.
No, thanks for the words of encouragement, though.
Sure.
And thanks for being on the show here.
Oh, yeah, it's
and
my privilege. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us again on What's Up Irvine. And if you have any suggestions for topics or people that you'd like to hear from, email us at info@loveirvine.org, info@loveirvine.org. And thank you again for joining us. And thank you again, Bobby, for joining us.
Thanks, Curtis. I had fun. Appreciate it.